We're only 11 days away from Donald Trump being sworn in as the next president, and it looks like the US government just sold 69,000 Bitcoin. Could this be the outgoing administration's last-ditch effort to hurt the incoming? And what does this mean for Trump's plan for a US strategic Bitcoin stockpile? Plus, inflation fears rise again as rate cut projections lower and the market suffers. So we get Joe Kernan from CNBC to say what we're all thinking.
You can navigate.
You better buy some Bitcoin, Mohamed.
The Bitcoin price has taken a hit this week as some economic data came in that sparked fears that higher inflation is returning, which caused market participants to lower their expectations of further interest rate cuts in 2025. Coupled with this, today it was reported that the US government has been given the green light to liquidate 69,000 Bitcoin worth $6.5 billion from Silk Road seized coins. Some rumors are even swirling that these coins have already been liquidated by the Department of Justice. This with less than 2 weeks from the new Trump administration taking office, who had made public plans to hold the over 200,000 Bitcoin held by the US as their strategic stockpile. Will we see the outgoing administration scramble to sell off all the Bitcoin in an attempt to stick it to the Trump admin? Now, it's still not confirmed whether or not the sale of any coins has actually occurred, but this does make the situation very interesting. If the outgoing administration does indeed sell some Bitcoin that Trump had planned to hold, what will this mean for the stockpile plans? Could this increase the chances of Trump signing an executive order to purchase Bitcoin in the first weeks of his presidency? Many think so, but we'll just have to grab our popcorn and keep watching the show unfold. If anything, this just means we get the gift of Bitcoin on sale in the days leading up to the first ever US administration that is openly pro-Bitcoin. So anyone selling here has no idea what's actually happening. As far as comparing this Bitcoin cycle to ones of the past, we are right on track, as we are currently in the boring zone, and getting ever so closer to the banana zone as seen here in this chart comparison. Or, as a wise man once said, Bitcoin always looked dumpiest before pumpiest. And speaking of the US strategic Bitcoin stockpile, pro-Bitcoin senator and author of the SBR Bitcoin bill, Cynthia Lummis, was on a podcast this week talking about the potential for the world's first peaceful arms race.
Wouldn't it be fun if the next arms race was not for weapons, it was for Bitcoin? Wouldn't it be fun if the U.S. is buying Bitcoin and it scares China and Russia so they start buying Bitcoin, and we have an arms race over Bitcoin instead of over weapons? That we're as globally, we're challenging each other to have a secure store of value.
Lummis is right. Trump has the opportunity to jumpstart a new arms race, and one that doesn't include military might and weapons, but the race for dominance in sound freedom money. That sounds pretty good to me. Lummis isn't the only senator who sees the potential for Bitcoin. Here's Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee on CNBC talking about the values of Bitcoin aligning with those of the United States.
But I'm curious, Senator, there's a lot of people and a lot of your peers probably who get so upset when they hear this talk of different states, whether it's Pennsylvania, now Texas, or us doing something nationally with a Bitcoin reserve. Why do you think this has real value for this country?
It's taken some time, and my viewpoint has evolved. As you remember, Kelly, I was the U.S. ambassador to Japan. I saw a massive heist take place there with CoinCheck. I was deeply concerned about where that cryptocurrency might have landed. But as I dug into the technology and saw the potential of the blockchain, where this could go, it's absolutely amazing. And then if I think about just basic principles of a decentralized currency like this, the freedom and the liberty that it supports, there's a lot of very positive aspects to this, and I think America should be at the forefront of it.
The very real possibility of nation-states around the world creating Bitcoin stockpiles is gaining more and more traction among investors, as $5.8 trillion investment firm Fidelity recently predicted that nation-states and governments could be the next major players adding Bitcoin to their reserves. This concept is still so new that most people still don't register it as likely at all. I had a friend recently ask me what the next narrative will be for Bitcoin after the ETFs, corporations, and institutions buying. It has never been more clear than today that the next narrative is nation-states buying en masse. Are you ready? So don't let this shakeout scare you. The US government selling some Bitcoin here has absolutely zero long-term effects on the fundamentals of Bitcoin and where it's headed, especially with inflation fears rising again. And speaking of rising inflation, CNBC had Fiat economic advisor Mohamed El-Erian on today, and he tried to downplay the arbitrary inflation target of 2% to say it's outdated and to minimize the effects of higher inflation on everyday people. Well, today we're thankful to have CNBC host Joe Kernan to be our resident Bitcoiner and to put him in his place.
There's a lot of people that are nodding with you because we can deflate our way out of some of the debt, but the difference between 2% and 3% compounded for the dollar is devastating. And I don't know, for you to just blow it off is a little weird. I mean, there's a reason they want 2%. Anyone can move goalposts. I mean, if you compound 3%, that's 50% higher than 2%.
Do you know where 2% comes from?
No,
but 2%
3% it would be, would make all of us feel awful in 10 years.
2% comes from the Bank of New Zealand in the early 90s.
It seems like a good number to me.
But it's an arbitrary number. What you've got to take into...
5 is an arbitrary number. If you want to deflate 36 trillion, let's go to 10 then.
I don't want to pull the rug from under U.S. economic exceptionalism. I think we are outpacing the rest of the world.
You're starting to at 3%.
I think we are investing in the economies of tomorrow, in the growth drivers of tomorrow.
The government?
No, the private sector, everything else. If you push this economy into recession...
The private sector is not what causes the inflation.
Joe, if you push this economy into recession, you will not just lose current standard of living, you will lose future standard of living. We are in a very good position.
3% loses the future standard of living. That's the problem.
2.5 to 3 is what I said. You went immediately to 3.
Well, if you say 3 at the high end,
and as long as
okay with it.
As long as inflation expectations are stable, you can navigate.
You better buy some Bitcoin, Mohamed.
He did.
Protect against.
He did back in the day.
Not enough.
Not enough.
None of us did. Damn.
Joe isn't just talking to Mohamed there at the end. He's talking to everyone watching at home. Rising inflation isn't just some short-term fear. At this point in the fiat life cycle, it's totally inevitable. It's just a matter of when. I really believe that inflation returning to the levels we saw throughout 2022 will be the straw that breaks the camel's back and radicalizes millions around the world to take a serious look at Bitcoin. The last time we saw a significant and extended inflation spike was in the late 70s and early 80s, a time when many of us weren't even alive, and when our debt levels, housing crisis, and cost of living wasn't through the roof. Bitcoin has arrived and started taking root at exactly the right time, and the rest of the decade will be fascinating to behold. I think we're on the precipice of a total transformation of the global economic and monetary order. So get on board and buy this dip with Swan. Visit swan.com or download the app by searching for Swan Bitcoin in the App Store. You go from sign up to buying Bitcoin in minutes. Plus you get your first $10,000 in Bitcoin purchases with zero fees. Also, big news out today for those that live in New York, Swan's complete suite of Bitcoin financial services is now available in the Empire State. So visit swan.com to get started today. And a quick shout out to Mara, the largest publicly traded Bitcoin miner, for supporting this show and for helping make Bitcoin the world's most decentralized and secure monetary network. That's it for today. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel for more high signal Bitcoin content. Thanks for watching, and remember, TikTok next block.